Alright. For the YouTube guys, we do this live on stream. I'm a League of Legends coach, reviewing that for your content and for my own improvement. Doing that live on Twitch, so come check out my Twitch stream. Everything linked below, in case you're interested. Doing coaching, doing these sort of reviews. I've reviewed every MSI series on my Twitch as well. Let's jump into game 4. Game 1, Caps getting diffed. Game 2, Hansama Mikyx getting diffed. Game 3, Yike insanely overperforming, considering he's a rookie. Very, very nice to see. G2 didn't have a problem with their lane states early on. Didn't get completely gapped. So now they were able to punish GENG for the mistakes they do in their mid game. And that is very much overchasing. And very much creating too much on side lane. From game 3 that we just saw. So how would we going to adapt in game 4 is G2 and GENG. Well, as GENG, I'd probably try to make sure I have a little bit better teamfight again. I feel like the second G2 doesn't have like a very, very easy teamfight to play. I'm honestly in a pretty decent position. So that is number one thing I'd care about as GENG personally. And as G2, I'd really try to focus on both good teamfight and really making sure I've got easy lanes to play. Laning phase wise, we struggled a bit. I feel like the only person that didn't struggle was BrokenBlade against Doran. But I don't think Doran is known as the best like laner anyway in LCK. But don't quote me on that. I don't really watch that much LCK. And with that much, I mean I mostly watch EU in spring. Right, so that is something to look at. So how are we gonna see draft 3 play out, right? We see Nautilus ban again, we see Vi ban still, right? We see Olaf ban still, sure. We see Peyz target ban and Fellies. Now we actually see the Rakan. So Xayah Rakan taken out, which also allows G2 to go for these very early, like easy skirmishy sort of team fights, which worked out very well for them in the last game. And I honestly quite enjoy the Maokai ban because of GENG's 80 flex picks. Like Tristana, especially possibly Jace, right, which was very annoying. 42 in game 2. And of course it's a very good front and back team fight, which is not really optimal for G2's way of playing the game. Plus, Maokai is really OP if they get ahead, they have better lane states, or they're better at laning. Decent chance that they get ahead, right? Although of course your red side, so right now you can decide to counter pick mid and support if you really wanted to. And that is number one, like the 2 ways to decide who wins the early game, pretty much, or like who wins lanes. What is happening, guys? Okay. We end up seeing Cassandra first pick. I think Cassandra's really OP. It is a flex pick for them. Makes a decent amount of sense. We've got Jinx, we've got Zeri, we've possibly have Xayah open, although for me Xayah is a bit bait. Out of the most meta 80 carries. There's Draven still up as well, right? I really wouldn't mind like stemming Draven because it's Hansama special. They don't play Ezreal or well, no one plays Ashe, right? So let's put them in brackets. We don't prioritize Ezreal. We've seen like who was it, PSG that prioritized Ezreal in like game 1 or game 2 and was completely useless anyway. So probably gonna be Draven X, right? Draven plus most likely jungle or very, very good meta pick. So Annie and Cannon are both still open, right? So you could do something like Draven plus Cannon, Draven Annie, or Draven jungle. So they did decide to play Cannon again. I agree. I don't think it's bad. Game 2, you were able to play very well against their counter pick they prepared for it. And game 3, it was a very good pick for you as well. You decided to go just Poppy instead already, which for me is a bit of a question mark. But of course, Draven you can delay, they're not going to pick it away. Maybe they will pick a more vulnerable champion to Draven in case you pick it later. And just picking jungle right now is also not that bad. But you've got Yike who has a bit of like a few crazy picks, so I'd probably even prefer delaying jungle. Possibly find a Kha'Zix spot, a Velvet spot, right? These sort of picks I think are quite interesting. Anywho's. AP jungle to make sure Cassandra really is a flex plus 80 carry is very, very good though. Probably Zeri because of Cannon. I feel like playing Jinx against Cannon is not that much fun, but if you pick a bit of peel, it is okay. I think it's fine, but now you actually have to pick a lot more peel for Jinx. One thing to already keep in mind right now though is GENG has very high range. So either pick engage or try to match range. So we will end up seeing Draven pick now because it's on summer, right? We know that. But now you need more engage. Why do you need more engage? Because they're outrange. If they outrange and you don't have enough engage, that might be a problem. And Cannon is not enough engage. Cannon solo engaging onto their background is not that easy. Especially because we already talked about it in the last game, right? Where Cassandra can basically just look at his AD carry and decide if either he looks to flank enemy AD carry, right? Or basically just piece for his own. And in case I have outrange against Shaven, I'm probably just going to look to peel as Cassandra the enemy cannon. And then if I do, I should be in a pretty good state when it comes to the team fight. Anyway, right? So, sorry guys, I gotta check a very, very quick message. Anywho's, Malphite ban makes a lot of sense. You don't really know where the draft is going through to. Now, we know that they will end up picking Tristana. I'd ban it personally because I think this champion is OP. Of course, this is a bit in hindsight because I know they will end up picking it. So it's a bit in hindsight, and I'm not sure about instantly thinking about this champion and draft myself, but I think Tristana's just too OP. Fuck this champion. Wait, what did I end up picking again? So Soraka. Not a fan. Why am I not a fan? Because of range, right? So the idea technically of Soraka against any engagey sort of compositions, peeling for Draven, very, very good, right? In case it was a front or back draft, G2's draft would be insane. Or rather, if Genji's is an engage draft. If Genji was engaging, G2's draft would be so good. Problem is, Genji just doesn't engage. They just pick Lulu and Tristana. They've got Lulu double hyper carry, Cassandra matching cannon on his flank, and then they just kite back and there's no engage. I think the Soraka pick is sadly really bad. I love Soraka. But here it's not good because you get outrange. So how do you play as Draven? You're getting double outrange. You've got Tristana who can yeet out cannon as well. And right now in case mid lane matchup is bad for Tristana, you can still put a top lane and Cassandra mid, by the way. Tristana doesn't have to be mid lane. Actually, doesn't have to be mid lane. And now you see Ace on and you're like, ah, well, that's not that bad of a matchup. Sure, we can put Tristana onto mid. And you can do whatever you want to. Right? Now what do you do? Because G2 just gets a mega outrange. Is their draft that bad? No, no, I wouldn't say it's that bad. But I feel like if Genji plays the game properly, it is going to be so hard for G2 to really do anything on the map. And that, in my opinion, is a little bit of a problem. I'm not just a little bit. I think it's a very big problem. And range doesn't get looked at nearly enough, right? So there's a Soraka pick in case Genji goes for engage, which they have done in a lot of games, maybe. Makes sense. Well, now they just don't engage, so what do you do? Because you're never going to win in the stand-up. The Soraka seems kind of troll. Jinx Tristana has so much range, or G2 has 0 engage options IMO. Kenna would need to find the perfect spot to enter the fight, or G2 just loses any fight. Yes. That is the problem. That is exactly the problem. In case Genji engages on the G2, their draft would be beautiful, but they just do not. Genji just doesn't. Nice, extra gold, Mickey, let's go. Right, so this is the problem. So what do you do? Well, you kind of get outscaled, so you kind of need to accelerate the game. So how do you accelerate the game? Well, you accelerate the game by invading. Good. Invade those bitches. Nice. It gets it. But the problem is they're running you down. Well, this again is not as good because now this doesn't do anything anymore. It sucks a bit for bot lane. But the idea to invade to accelerate the game makes a lot of sense. The way they do it though, I don't like as much, right? So the problem that you have here is you go a bit late, which is like kind of okay. By the way, good ward by Genji. Although this should not be the ward, this should be the ward. I really hate how people like fuck up this ward, guys. If they lane invade, you can ward here. And you still spot. Let me show you on a quick... Because I see people ward here, and then it gets sweet. Like, Keck W, man. Honestly, straight up. Like, learn how to ward. I've seen a nice tool. That I kind of want to like use right now to show vision possibly. I haven't like tried to use it before. I've just seen it yesterday on Twitter that this has a little bit better range. Champion ranges? The champion ranges doesn't do anything though. Unlucky. Anyway, right? So how do I place wards? Here, look. If you place a ward here, it still spots. Right? It still spots. But no one runs like this to sweep it. No one does. And it doesn't have to be the perfect ward because no one comes one after the other and perfectly walks here as well, right? But people like keep placing it here. This ward is fine. But just do this ward as well. Like just do like a better ward. Like you can like ward like this. Up. You can do a ward like this. No one will ever spot this. Like it looks a little bit weird on the map here. Right? But no one will like ever walk like this. I'm telling you, it's 10 times better ward. Anyway. It's such, like, I know it doesn't make that big of a difference, but it's a big pet peeve I have. Like, it's just inefficient vision for no reason. For no reason is it ineffective. Invade here, I think, is completely okay. Things lose out in lane, instant one-shot the wave. Correct play to do. Yike wasting his time here, not the correct play to do. Why? Because bottom wave is gone. So it's not a 1v1. It's, like, even if it's... Well, even if it is to the top side camps, GENG can come to annoy him, right? So what should he instantly do? Well, good start. You already one camp up and trapped this. Good. Cross mid. Take this, go bot side again. Really good start. But how you play afterwards, I'm not a fan. Because now you just waste time. Look what Yike does here is like good. But he should have just done it earlier, right after he took Raptors. I still need to move my camera, sorry. Were you even able to see the ward range? Let me check. You were, right? Yeah, should have worked out. Anyway, let's go back to the game, right? Big pet peeve I have. Inefficient wards like that. Especially when it comes to innovate. Anyway, right? So bot lane falls a bit behind. Not that big of a problem. You don't really get control of the lane anyway. It's not like you'd be able to contest. So Mikyx, like here, complete griefing. You can't contest this. Now we're back to game 2 again, where Hansam and Mikyx just griefing in bot lane. You're playing so Rakai a Draven against GENG. GENG just is stronger early on. Like people look at Draven as an early game champion when he's not necessarily, right? He's strong early game, but not the like most strong champion in the game early game. GENG is not weak, not the first few levels. Lulu is really OP first few levels, right? But not a fan. And now here, the problem that I just have here is Yike is basically even. And in case he's not able to get his bot side camps, now all of these camps, with the exception of Stones, respawn on a high level, whereas Yike's entire bot side does not. So invading is really good if you can take your camps afterwards. If you invade and afterwards you can't re-invade, and you also don't take your camps, it's actually really bad to invade. And like at least if you also end even, right? Try to pressure caps, BrokenBlade gets pushed. Now you try to just secure yourself the scuttle grab, not bad. You don't have mid prior, so you don't get your enemy raptors again. So now Pina can take high level raptors, which is very, very nice. And then it's not optimal. What Yike does here as well, I'm not a fan. Why do you prioritize your blue buff? I don't understand why some junglers prioritize their blue buff. Getting your blue buff here is really whatever. The way I look at it is, look where they do your raptors. Right, so I understand the idea of having like a clear that goes into one lane, like one direction again, right? So I understand the idea of like delaying it a little bit to do like to properly do crump blue raptors into like not crump blue raptors. Okay, I'm just gonna say it again, right? I understand the idea of delaying like your other camps, so you do blue first, and then you do crump walls, and then you have your top side respawning like upside, like upwards again, right? I understand the idea, but I think this game you really want to impact bot. I feel like this game you really want to impact bot lane because you need to accelerate the game. So I'm not even a big fan of doing that. So instead of this, just do walls into crump. And jungle efficiency is very, very important in case you want to accelerate early game, right? So I understand the idea of like flipping plays and stuff if you want to accelerate, but farming effectively in the early game is a way of accelerating the game. Just rushing level 6 before the enemy jungle accelerates you very, very hard. Yeah, I don't really like playing into Cannon from Yike. Raven Soraka can't 2v2 here. Yeah, you need to accelerate. You can't wait. So you have a technically well scaling draft, but you get out range. It doesn't matter how well you scale. Like how your champions technically scale, right? It depends how it's individually, right? Not individually. I mean, I can't talk, but you know what I mean, right? It depends how both comms interact with each other to see how well a champion scales. Because already installed really scales really well, but the problem is if you play against Jinx, Lulu, and Tristana that both have stack lethal tempo, you're just not in range. Otherwise, Yike also securing like Smite battle again. Really, really nutty. Like, Yike is playing it fantastically. Never would I have thought that Yike in this tournament is gonna be the best player in the entire series. I thought it was really good, but I didn't think it was that good. So that is really respectful. Like, that honestly deserves a lot of respect. You basically need to play like a psychopath to win here and just be literally on them 24/7, which also means kind of flipping the whole game. Disagree. Do you need to play like a psychopath? Well, in a way, right? You need to accelerate the game. But that doesn't mean that you need to sit on them 24/7, right? So the idea here is the following. Right? When you want to accelerate, what you basically do is you threaten the enemies, right? And that is basically saying, okay, I want to kill you. At best, I will kill you. Otherwise, you will have to drop waves and experience and priority, and with that, we can do objectives, right? This is how you accelerate. You accelerate by threatening. But for that, you need to answer, okay, well, how and why am I able to threaten the enemies? And that is based on wave state and individual strengths of the champions, and of course, how they correlate with each other. With also looking at the enemy strength, right? Poppy 3-6 with a Soraka does not threaten Jinx Lulu. I think flipping onto bot side is completely useless. Because number one, you don't have wave control. So Jinx Lulu at this point, definitely a wave control. Number two, they've got a stronger mid section, so they can also push their mid into bot side. They can't. It's also hard to play bot lane because of it. And before level 6, as Poppy, you're never gonna be able to play gank bot lane anyway. So what I'd rather have here is Poppy is the early invade was really good in my opinion, but rush level 6 and then try to flip bot. Because before I think it's so hard. I also partly understand why it powers up, because before like doing anything on bot is going to be really rough. I'd still try like pad there because you might get lucky. And you kind of need to be a bit lucky this game in my opinion. But prioritizing your level 6 is good because how are you gonna gank Jinx, Lulu with Summoners? With Soraka and Poppy? Like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Look, like Yike is coming here. And he does go for the flash, right? So you actually end up getting it. But they're very, very deep without any vision and without any hover. And why are they very, very deep? Because they're looking for a trade instead of for the wave crash. This is just a significant misplay by Genji bot, right? That is why I'm telling Yike, like that is why I'm saying Yike should path bot lane, because in case they fuck up, now you can punish them. But I hope you guys can also see, in case Genji doesn't creep, they're also not gankable here. Because if you look at lane state, they can just, instead of like hard pushing this here like idiots, they could also just slow push and crash on the next one, and then they're still chilling here, and they're not gankable. They're still not gankable, by the way. But Genji's playing for individual lane leads and looks for aggressive trades. When their jungle is topside, they don't have proper vision set up, and the mid station is not set up. This is a big Genji bot lane misplay. It is not necessarily because it's a good gank attempt. It is a good punish, right? Don't get me wrong. What G2 is doing here is good, but it's based on Genji making a mistake, right? This is what I'm saying. Yike should path bot lane, but that it's, in my opinion, entirely unrealistic to think you will be able to set things up. This is why I disagree when he said that he should just literally be on them 24/7, right? This is like why I'm disagreeing with that. I'm not sure if you meant it like this, right? I understand the idea of, and you obviously understand Yike needs to do something about, right? I 100% agree with you on that. But this is the spot where it kind of always depends, like when you can actually threaten the enemies, right? I think I basically just talked for 5 minutes about like this one concept, right? I hope I didn't talk about it for too long. Sometimes I might get a bit stuck in semantics. Especially working in an EU context, right? Where probably most people are not speaking perfect English, me included. It's easily to misunderstand someone's intention, especially in a short text message. Now, hopefully I didn't misunderstand you there. I'm ready to take anything personal because I just use that not necessarily to like explain it to you, but to explain it to like anyone watching here. Because me uploading that to YouTube will probably mean that there will be a lot like low elo players as well. So I think explaining it a little bit in depth, I hope you don't see it as an insult to you, but just trying to use that as an opportunity to maybe teach other people that might not be as knowledgeable as you. Because it seems like you are quite knowledgeable about the game. Anyway, yeah, I get what you meant. Can't depend on the mistake all the time. Yeah, right? That's exactly what I mean, right? It's about threatening, right? Accelerating the game is about threatening the enemies. But for that, we need to answer. We need to ask, okay, how do we threaten? Because if we can't, like, it's the same thing as solo queue, right? You can't just go for the gank if you can't gank. You're just gonna waste your time, and then you're gonna fall behind, and then it's going to be even harder. So path towards bot, allow the enemy to make a mistake, right? So you can punish them when they do, just as G2 just did. But also try to position yourself, or rather get yourself in a position that you're able to threaten without the enemy making a mistake. And that for me is when they possibly lose their summoners and Yike hits level 6. Because now you can dash onto a minion and then ult for setup. Or of course, you can just lead someone out when you go for a dive and then look to dive. Alright, so Yike here threatening bot, I think, is the right play, in a way, but you also just can't really get much out of it. And that's like kind of the hard thing this game. I know we didn't talk about like too much of about Dragon and Herald here, so let's very quickly talk about it, in case you're interested. Basically, we kill bot, we fall back Drake, they cross map do this with Herald, right? No, wait, never mind, I'm stupid. They do Herald here because we went for the bot lane play and they had control top side anyway, right? And then we cross map with possible bot and dive and then we fall back on the Drake. Huh? Wait, am I actually stupid? When did they do Drake? Okay, yeah, don't quote me on that, honestly. What am I talking about? I thought they already did Drake early. My bad. Here, they just decided to Drake because they've got nothing else to do and Jinx went for a reset. Okay. But the punish Jinx reset, that's why they go for a Drake. Like you probably could have done it earlier, but it's whatever. It's Ocean Drake, who cares? But now it's Ocean and Chemtech, so the soul might be good. So this might be nice for G2. And one thing Peanut doesn't do is play for dragons, right? So maybe you can actually get to the soul. Because when I played against him in solo queue, I had like Mountain Soul in 27, so that was pretty nice. And that made the game a lot easier. Try to gank. They get him. BrokenBlade does not flash. Good boy. Try to waste his time. Try to cross my bot side afterwards. But it's not going to be all too easy. GENG already bit ahead, and that is a bit of a problem. Why? Because G2 doesn't actually outscale. Range advantage is a bitch. Right, GENG just trying to play for a topside play again. Not really that sure why they give up so much control on their bot side instead of just defending it. Because one thing that is a little bit interesting, right? I understand the idea of you arguing, well, my bot lane shouldn't die anyway, so I should be fine. Right, I understand the idea. And because of that, I can actually look to play onto top lane. I understand that idea. But in my like Western sort of understanding of the game, in case they need to accelerate, I'd rather just match it. Right, if I just need to just match it, because I will outscale, then I'd rather be on the same side as Poppy and not just cross-mapping. I understand why they do it, but in my opinion, I'd rather do the more consistent way. Because otherwise stuff like that can happen. Right? This is the problem. Because now you try to accelerate yourself. And if G2 is there to punish, well now it's a problem. When instead, I'd rather just have you match Yike on bot side, make sure your two hyper carries are scaling up, and then just win late game by default.
So G2 now are going to be in such a great spot, having pressure in multiple lanes across the map. Props to BrokenBlade. Question marks surrounded his performance coming into this tournament, and holding on to that flash proved dividends in this exchange. It looked like the GENG
I mean, BB is not playing bad. I feel like BB and Yike played by far the best. BB's laning phase, pretty good, although Doran, as far as I know, of course not the best laner, but he played really well. Also, very nice behind Summer to block Jinx rocket to make sure his support can reset. Very, very nice. Anyway, right? But pretty good play. But, I feel like Yike by far is the best player on G2 right now. When it comes to this tournament, he's popping this fuck off. Without me wanting to swear, of course. I'm related to the play, but I really like Poppy in this meta. I've got mixed feelings. I think Poppy can be really, really good if you play hyper carry. I feel like Poppy is really, really bad if you get outranged. Because you lack engage on Poppy, right? I like Poppy in any meta when it's a lot about teamfight. Because I think Poppy... So there's a few champions which I would say have like... Wait, I don't know like how I explain it the best, right? But there's a few champions that basically have a bullshit mechanic. Okay? And a bullshit mechanic for me is a mechanic that allows you to win the game no matter how doomed it is. Right? So Blitzcrank Q, for example, right? And another ability that is like this is Poppy ult. Poppy ult is a bullshit mechanic. Because you can bullshit the entire game and just win it anyway. And no matter what, I like seeing Poppy in pro play. I used to call for it a lot. When I was new to coaching, I always liked it into Lee Sin and these sort of picks. For obvious reasons. I hate playing against it personally. I really hate playing against Poppy. Because having an outranging AD carry is Poppy feels so good because Poppy just presses W in case you engage and just instant yeets you with the objective setup. Which I'm a very, very big fan of. Like just yeeting someone out is so nice. But then again, Poppy doesn't necessarily agree with the idea of carry jungle supportive mid laner, which I think is probably the best way to play. But Poppy's very good against a few of these carry junglers, like Nidalee. Nidalee Poppy matchup is pretty... Well, it's not really favored for Poppy in a way. It kind of depends on AD carry matchup again, or like the carry matchup again. Right, if your carry is outrange, Nidalee's not that bad against Poppy. If you get outrange and you actually have to walk up as Nidalee, well now Poppy is a lot better, of course, again. And Soraka heal is really popping off the series, though. Right, so I understand I critique like the Soraka pick a lot. It's kind of popping up when it comes to these ultimates. But you're still lacking engage later, and I think that is like the biggest problem. So what do you even do here as G2? Like, how do you keep accelerating? Because I think early game, like, it sort of accelerates a little bit, right? But it's not nearly enough at this point. And it is Cloud Soul. So Cloud Soul can help you engage a little bit, but not really this game. So the Soul is not really that much of a win condition now. If this rolled Hextech... Sorry. If this rolled Hextech, I think G2 would have been in a way better position, but it didn't. So what the heck do you do? Right? What the heck do you do? Also, Shadow Flame is really nice against BT because you instantly get all your magic pen because you're hitting a shield target. I'd probably go Shadow Flame and Cannon anyway because otherwise you don't do damage. Or Shadow Flame you one-shot everyone. I'm just happy that I don't see the Cringe Rift Maker build. I feel like it's... Like people started doing it. I feel like it's so useless when you can just deal damage instead. Why would you ever need a 10-killer build on Cannon? That's not your job. Your job is to one-shot the AD carry, so just go Proto Belt, Shadow Flame, just send it. AD carry is a broken roll. Gale Force PD is such a weird one, like first two items on Jinx, no? I understand why Gale Force, I don't understand PD, because you don't really kite afterwards. What do you even prefer, Rapid Fire? Anyway. Yeah, honestly, probably just go IE. Whatever. I think probably just IE LDR maybe? Not sure. We can just go MR. Whatever. What do you even do here is G2? Because you don't have control here. Why do you not have control? Because it's Jinx, Lulu. So they easily get pushed in mid, and they've got winning side lanes, right? So they push outside, you need to answer side, and then when you answer side, well, they can shift back onto mid. The movement speed of PD together with Gayfor's MS, I guess. Yeah, I understand the movement speed, but I don't think you really need it. Because either you're standing in cannon, or you're not standing in cannon, and I'm not sure if the movement speed makes a difference. It's probably not bad. I'm not sure if I like it though. This is the bullshit element. Because it actually ends up in 1 for 2 because G2 overextends, but Hansama gets like 1200 gold because of his ultimate. So it's like, was it 1200? Was it 1600? I think it was 1200, right? So basically just a huge amount of gold, and it just inter-base with Yike again. So that was very, very nice. And that's basically it, right? This is why I like Poppy. It's called the bullshit element. You just eat out 2 people, you just win a fight. The fight was so good started from Yike, like the R was actually 10 out of 10, but the rest wasn't great, yeah. I think the fight started beautifully. And then afterwards, in case, like Yike said he died, so it's not like he could have like fell back onto Nash anyway. It's just unlucky that they were a bit low, like they just all survived as well. But no matter what, it's a good fight for G2. Because Hansama gets a lot of gold, right, out of this. Hansama gets a lot of gold out of this. The only problem that you have, though, is I feel like the game is just not nearly enough accelerated as it should have been. And it's like hard because you need to accelerate bot, but you don't actually have wave control unless you're very far ahead. But insane engage by Yike. Insane engage. He gets onto Peyz again, gets his cleanse, ends up dying for it, but it's kind of fine. Playing against 2 ADCs when enemy has Lulu feels so toxic, yes. Playing against 2 outranging AD carries is really OP, that's what I was saying, right? Like, I really like what some teams did, like before people learned not to do it, right? Of picking Vi, and then your AD carry is like, I need to pick Xayah here. And then when enemy goes Xayah, well now you just go Jinx, and then you've got Jinx against Xayah, and you just win the game. In my opinion. Not saying it is like this, but from the games I've seen, like, it works beautifully. Although people learn not to do it anymore. I usually just ban Vi. I got a fight on 3 OP, I think it'll be very good. Double ADC will be even worse when next patch ADC deals like 50-50 damage, basically. Oh yeah, wait there. Oh no. An AD carry. Why does Riot Games need to buff AD carry, man? Like, AD carry is the best role in the game. Straight up. And I hate AD carry so much. But I don't know where the meta goes, right? So I can't really tell. G2 tries to start the fight, which is technically not bad because now GENG has to walk into them. But the flank here with BB just feels bad. What is just really frustrating is that they didn't wait BB's flash. Because if BrokenBlade has flash here, this fight is winnable. If he doesn't, now it's not. And it feels bad. I think he probably could have just waited for it. I understand the idea of like starting Nash. Because they're getting outranged. But you should have just waited for BrokenBlade's flash and then he has a better engagement on the backline. You would just see Trist mid everywhere and some hit on it ADC on bot like Varus paired up with an Ardent abuser. Not sure. I know Ardent is supposed to be OP. I think I've already been saying that, but like a coach friend of mine. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I will see when the patch is out. Because it's a very big patch, like there's a decent chance that there will be a lot of changes still. I have no idea. I'm not sure. I mean, this is like mostly the problem here. Like the problem is like honestly very much about draft, sadly. I think the other drafts weren't, but I think this draft is. Because you just get Giga outranged and you don't have options to accelerate, right? Poppy Soraki can't accelerate bot, and you're playing against Tristana and playing onto Tristana is so unplayable. Like G2 tried, you got a flash, right? But that's about it. This champion is so safe. Like Tristana mid is so safe. I used to play in-houses. And that was like this one master AD carry player playing Tristana mid, and I always called for the ban against it because it was completely unplayable. This champion is so safe. It's so safe, man. GG. What happened in this game? Due to picking a comp that while your champions scale well individually, if you look at both compositions, you get outranged, right? And if you get outranged, G2 gets outranged, right? To make it very clear. G2 gets outranged. What do you need to do if you get outranged? Well, you either have to make sure they run into you, they run into your range, which you can do in case you first an objective, right? So starting Baron itself is not necessarily a bad idea. Unless a Giga outrange you, where you can poke your Nash, right? But I think that's pretty obvious. Or, of course, you can make sure you get into their range without them killing you already. And that is if you pick Engage. The problem that G2 has here is they've got Poppy and Soraka, jungle support, which don't really give you Engage. When it comes to front and back, Poppy and Soraka are very, very good. But Genji's not engaging onto you. Genji is just standing there, hitting you, right? So basically, you've got Draven here, or like this range, and you've got Tristana and Jinx here, and they can hit Draven. So now Draven has to walk in. Doesn't really have the best targets to walk in with him. Because if you just walk in here, well, first of all, they can kite out, right? So you walking in, they can kite out. So what do you need? Well, you need CC, right? So if you walk in, you have to make sure they can't walk out. So for that, you need CC. Who's going to do that? Capsule? Maybe. Right? Capsule? Possibly. BrokenBlade if you can find a good flank. But because you're outrange, Cassandra can just basically play flank control. Right? Trying to make sure the cannon can't flank. And then you're going to struggle a bit, right? Poppy and Soraka are just going to stand there. It's going to be rough, right? It's going to be rough. So I think that was like kind of the problem of this game. I think Yike really tried well. I think the invade already, right, as we just talked about. If you invade like this, you can't waste your time. It's very much about asking yourself when you can actually threaten bot, because you will never really be able to threaten mid. And in my opinion, that is with level 6, right? I like pathing down. I like trying to infuse their mistakes and what. I think that is very good. But the big problem I have is actually not prioritizing your experience a little bit earlier as Pike. Not Spike, as Yike. Because with level 6, it's easier to threaten bot. Because that way now you have more proper setup. This way it's easier to play for dives. Which might be a possibility. Right? It might be. And maybe you can accelerate. Because if Draven is fed, you can still try to win the game. In case the game goes slow, it's gonna be rough. And we saw what happens if the game goes slow, right? There will be 2 hyper carries. With Lulu, it's not that easy to play, right? Because they're not threatened unless by Cannon. Unless Cannon actually has an insane flank. Is he really gonna get it? Very, very impressive was Yike though. In the entire series, Yike played really well. So basically, since it was game 4, let's do a very quick review. Game 1, what happened? Caps got shit on. Ari got onto the map, just killed everyone, basically, right? Nice. GG. Game 2, what happened? Hansa and Mikyx got a bit shit on. Fellies ran around the map, basically killed everyone. Unlucky. Game 3, what happened? G2 didn't cleave lane. Genji made a few mistakes. G2 had a very good comp to punish mistakes with. Had some very good skirmishy fights. G2 won a game. What happened game 4? G2, way better early game than, of course, game 1 and game 2. A problem with this game, and that was, in my opinion, the only time it was a problem in all 3 of these games, was draft. But G2 was sadly not in a position to really, like, actually punish Genji as much as they needed to. And for that, I think it's honestly locking Soraka. I understand for lane, but you don't actually end up winning lane. Right, so you might have more setup on your support, and then it might be a lot more playable, honestly. I like the idea of Soraka technically. I think Soraka can be very good. I think Poppy can be very good. But they're a lot more dependent, in my opinion, to what the draft actually is. Or like they're a lot more draft dependent than locking a different kind of support. And if you delay your support and you end up picking Soraka in this game, I don't like it. Same thing a bit with Azor. Well, Azor I don't think is necessarily bad. But then I'm wondering, is there like any sort of pick you can take in mid that outranges here? Because if you outrange in mid here, like it's kind of doable. But what pick do you even pick here? Because playing Zoe to Tristana is absolutely unplayable. So what do you even pick here? Maybe Talia was decent range. But I don't think that makes that big of a difference in comparison to Azor. Maybe it is Talia though, I'm not sure. Because you're not going to pick like Xerath. Right, that you're not going to pick. Well, probably could even, but it's rough. I think games are hard to analyze because different caps would change a complete series, for sure. Right? Although, of course, you can definitely critique me for not analyzing it more in depth about what G2 can do specifically, right? But I feel like in game 1 and game 2, because of how they play in the lane, it was really hard to do anything. I think game 4 they don't really have the options. And I think game 3 I could have analyzed a bit more in depth, probably. But Genji's looking quite strong. Anyway, in case you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the videos. Check out my socials below. I reviewed every MSI game on and series, right, on stream, so check that out. If you're interested in coaching or a team looking for a coach, check out my Discord, basically. And otherwise, in case you're interested in League of Legends content, I guess subscribe to me on YouTube. First time I'm really doing YouTube videos, so I hope it's not that awkward. And I wish you guys a very nice day.